practices. My name is Andrew Cumberland. I'm Assistant Principal with Program Services, Ottawa-Carleton District School Board, and beside me.
Hello, everyone. My name is Steve Massey. I'm also Assistant Principal in Program Services, and really excited that you've have the opportunity to be with us this evening so we can explain a little bit about understanding high school assessment practices. Also want to let you know that this session is being recorded. Your questions are not or anything like that. It's just Andrew and myself. So there's an opportunity to view or go back at any time.
Great. What this session is about is about what we would call the continuation of learning. We're giving you all the things that you need to know in order to make the movement from grade 8 to grade 9 hopefully not intimidating at all, actually, hopefully a celebration, because there's a lot that's the same. The only thing is you're getting older, some growing taller and whatnot, but there's just a few small things that change in this process. The school is still the school. In some cases, it'll be the same school. You just walk across the hallway to the secondary wing. So this is really about what is different, and we'll try to get through all the steps for you so that you have a good starting point. But remember, your home school that you sign up with, they'll have even more answers for you, and they're there to help. Steve?
One of the main differences coming into a secondary school in grade 9, coming from grade 7 or grade 8 or K to 6, is the idea of individual courses. In grade 9 and grade 10, the Ministry of Education, the government wants to ensure that, and the OCDSB wants to ensure that students are well-rounded and have learned a little bit about core areas like mathematics and physical education and science, English and geography, French. And so in grade 9 and grade 10, there are courses that every student is required to take. And typically that's 8 courses in grade 9 and 8 courses in grade 10. They are about 75 minutes in length. And the difference from elementary school is these courses, successful completion of these courses grants a credit. And in order to graduate high school, there are several requirements that I think were talked about in the keynote, but there's a requirement of 30 credits being earned by students. I want to just talk a little bit about some of the differences in terms of the daily schedule as well. So we have 2 different types of timetables. We have 25 of our secondary schools are semestered schools, and that's where you have a semester that runs from September to January, where you would take your first 4 courses. And then the second semester runs from February to June, where you would take your second 4 courses. There's approximately there are 194 days per school year, running from September to June. And in there, just as in elementary, there are 7 professional development or professional activity days. That's where there's no school for students, but there is school for staff. We use those days to develop our knowledge and extend our knowledge of how to be better teachers and how to better serve you as students. So we focus on ministry mandated areas like literacy and numeracy and experiential learning and a whole litany of different things like that, so that we can, be better at helping you learn. In a semester school, there's about 87 to 90 days of instruction per semester. And at the end of the first semester in January, there's 5 evaluation or exam days where students will have a larger culminating task where they can demonstrate their learning. There's also 5 evaluation or exam days at the end of second semester, which would be in June. For the full year schools, very similar, 194 days, 7 days of PD, about 88 to 89 days of instruction. But because they're full year course, it's a full year school, students would take all 8 courses over a couple of days. So on a day 1, you might take 4 courses, and then you take the second 4 courses the next day. And so those courses run the entire year, and you have 10 final evaluation or exam days in June. In terms of the timetable itself, each one of these courses is about 75 minutes. And in most of our schools, we have 2 of those classes in the morning. Then you have a lunch. Lunch can be anywhere from 45 to 55 minutes. There is no recess. So lunch is the time where you have time to eat your lunch, or essentially act as a recess period, if you will. And then in the afternoon, you have your 2 other 75-minute classes. Now, what might happen is they might rotate as well. So on a day 1, for example, you might, and today could be a day 1 because it's an odd day, so November the 27th. In a semester school, you might flip the morning classes and the afternoon classes. And then on a day 2, it would be slightly different as well. Don't worry if this is very confusing, because we spend a lot of time on orientation and welcoming students coming into high school. There will be senior students that will be helping out. There will be grade 9 barbecues, orientation before school starts. We spend a lot of time to make sure that you feel safe and welcomed into grade 9. There's also, for full year schools, a timetable, as I've alluded to before, where you take 8 courses, usually on a day 1, day 2 schedule. And the schools will explain how this works. The last thing before we turn it over to measuring student achievement, there's lots of opportunity to learn more about your designated high school. Staff, guidance counselors will be visiting your grade 8 classes. There'll also be an opportunity for you and families to go to evening sessions at the school, welcome to high school sessions at the particular schools, and also opportunities where students will go over to their high school in the spring as well. So lots of ways to feel comfortable as you head into grade 9. Andrew?
Great. So one of the tasks of a high school teacher is to measure the achievement of students. That's done twice a semester. But in order to get that data, in order to determine how well the student has been achieving their knowledge and skills in terms of the course they're taking, we have a bunch of different tools that we use. There's a lot of changes that occurred into the Ontario education system. So each province has its own educational system. They are different. They have different curriculum. They have different structures. They have a lot of similarities, but there are also sometimes some major differences between them. So Ontario is one of the bigger jurisdictions in Canada. And their curriculum, it's all online. And an important change occurred in terms of how do we measure the achievement. And instead of comparing one student to another, we have categories of achievement that we compare the student's performance to. And that is outlined in the curriculum documents. The biggest change that occurred was asking us as teachers to make sure that we are not just measuring products. So I'm not just measuring, say, a posting in a discussion forum in an e-learning course, or I'm not just taking a set of answers or in questions and paragraphs, say in an assignment. Those are what we call products. What we are looking at is observations, conversations, and products. So as a teacher is working in the classroom with the students, they might, for instance, there should be, there's conversations occurring between the teacher and the student. If it was a math class, they might be working through a problem together where there's a little bit of support that the teacher is giving. And in the process of these conversations, the teacher can learn sort of what level of achievement the student's performing at. Also by observing students as they're working through work together and the conversations that they're having. By observing these, we can also get a sense of how well the student understands or is able to apply the particular skills or knowledge that is in this course. So these 3 different components of measuring how well a student is achieving are part of the toolkit for teachers. We accumulate all that information on something called an evidence record. This evidence record, which is a placemat, is unique to the Ottawa-Carleton District School Board. It was developed by teachers and became a board-wide initiative. And now every teacher is required to have an evidence record for each student in each course. And this evidence record, they update with data about how well a student has achieved in different levels. And we have a scale of achievement. The scale is from the Ministry of Ontario. It's level 1, 2, 3, and 4. Level 3 represents the provincial standard. And in the criteria in the curriculum, it describes what a level 3 looks like. And this is what we are ideally making sure to aim for, but students may perform higher than this. And this would be an exemplary performance, which would be a level 4, a thorough understanding, a thorough use of the skills of that piece. If they're not quite meeting the provincial standard, we also have level 2 and 1, somewhat they have learned it or a limited way. In fewer cases, there might be at this stage, a student isn't yet meeting even these standards and is requiring a lot more support because they are what we would call level R. They have not met any of the passing standards yet. And to an earlier question, at the end of a course, you do need to have a level 1-, which is 50% or greater in order to gain the credit. So an R across the board would represent not yet meeting the standard that would meet for granting that credit. But again, this is very rare because there are enormous supports in place. So let's look again at this evidence record. This evidence record has 2 attributes to it. On the left-hand side is where all of the things the student needs to learn that are called the overall expectations. All of those can be found in the provincial curriculum, so they're not made up by us. We take them from the curriculum documents, we line them up into this placemat. This is what the student needs to learn. And above that is the levels of achievement that the student has performed at in the observations, the conversations, and the products that the teacher has measured. And then they simply mark down what level to what overall expectation as they gain this data. When it comes to the mid-semester and the end of semester, there must be a report card done. And this report card is the formal reporting where the student is at in terms of a percentage grade. So the teacher looks at the evidence record. They've been in consultation with the student. They've had discussions about this. All the support has been done. And then they look for the most consistent level of performance with more recent evidence that they may have to support what they have, or it might be higher or lower. And then that is converted into a percentage grade for the report card. And the conversion is in a provincial document that shows how each level corresponds to a set of percentage grades. So this is the evidence record, an important tool that helps students with their learning. And it is something that you can find out more about when you register at a homeschool.
Thank you, Andrew. There's just a few questions we wanted to address. We've just got about a minute before we head into break. One of the questions is, how much choice does a student have in grade 9 or grade 10? It's pretty standardized in grade 9 or grade 10. A typical course load would be 8 courses, compulsory courses, and grade 10 as well. It's really in grade 11 and grade 12 where students really can choose the courses that will tailor to where what they want to do after high school. What are their post-secondary plans? This will all be explained by guidance counselors and your teachers in the spring of your grade 8 year as they come over to talk about high school. And then also next September, when you enter school, there'll be lots of information for both students and for parents and guardians. I'm just taking a quick look at the questions here.
So I think we answered the one about what's required to gain credits. So you need to have a passing grade of 50% or greater, or a 1- or greater in terms of level, in order to, at the end of the course, to get the credit.
And the last question here, what if my child gets an R? Will the student need to retake the course? We work really hard to make sure that students are not being assessed at the R level. This should not be a surprise. There should be lots of communication with with the teacher and with home and the teacher and the student, and not just about the performance right now, the demonstration of learning, but what is the plan to support the student, support your child in terms of how can we alter the learning or differentiate the learning as we get to know your child and how best to teach. If it does get to the end of the course and a student has not yet met all of the overall expectations or demonstrated learning in there, we're not going to ask the student to redo the learning that they've already done. We're going to really focus in a student success initiative to teach the areas that we don't have enough evidence in, and do some assessments to provide an opportunity for the student to demonstrate that learning. So that is something that we try really hard to make sure that you are supported and are successful in all of your credits. And so as we wrap up for this evening, there will be one more session that is exactly the same as this one. So please take the opportunity either to stay and hear this session again, or visit other sessions on different topics as per the itinerary that was provided at the beginning of the evening.
And I would like to just reinforce, consider this as just the beginning. You can always get more information from the website, and you can also the school that you are going to attend.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.
Take care.